Good meeting, everybody. I'm going to call the meeting to order. If you're able, please stand and rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome. Year's kind of winding down, and looks like so is our agenda. So just a few things to take care of today. We have no consent agenda. Agenda item number 2 is citizens' questions and comments. I will note agenda item number 3 is a public hearing, so if you're here for agenda item number 3, the appropriate time to talk about that would be during the public hearing. Is there anybody online for comments?
Nobody online.
Anybody in the room that would like to comment?
Yes,
Please come forward.
I'm the lead personnel trust.
Would,
The primary, what am I called?
Sir, come on up here and just introduce yourself.
I am called the chief petitioner.
Or is it for item number 3?
Pardon?
Is it for item number 3?
I didn't hear that.
Which
I
issue,
don't hear one.
which issue is it for the
This is
annexation?
on the annexation.
Okay, we're gonna,
proceedings.
if you wait just a minute, we're gonna have a public hearing, then I'll call you up first.
Very well.
Very
Thank
good.
you.
Great.
Hello.
So anybody else on agenda items other than item 3? We'll have a public hearing for item number 3. All right, seeing none, we'll move to item number 3 and we'll start with the staff report. So I'll invite up, it's a planning item, so I'll invite up our planning director, Joshua Shackley.
Good morning, Commissioners. Joshua Shackley, Douglas County Planning. Before you this morning is a hearing and order incorporating territories for annexation of 33 properties into the Calapooya Rural Fire District. The Calapooya Rural Fire District followed the process set out in Senate Bill 1068 to establish a coverage area and facilitate the annexation process directly with individual property owners. The 33 properties are subject to a variety of zoning classifications and locations throughout this coverage area, as described in the documentation accompanying the board order. Staff has reviewed these annexations for compliance with the county comprehensive plan and statewide planning goals and found them to be in compliance. Douglas County is not aware of any known objectors at this time, and I'm happy to answer any question that the board has.
Any questions? Tom, do you have any questions?
I might after I hear the gentleman.
Yeah, I've got a couple questions. So this is different than what we normally do.
It is.
So this is sort of the first time we've kind of had this process, so I wanna make sure everybody understands. These are being brought to us like our normal owner-initiated annexations, right? With no contestees, the owner initiates an annexation.
Right.
That's not what this is. How many of the 33 are owner-initiated, or how many are part of this new process from Senate Bill 1068?
All 33 consented,
So I'm not asking that they sign the consent, I'm asking how many were part of a normal process where an owner wanted to annex and they initiated an owner-initiated annexation versus the fire district initiating the process. I know for you it's the same process, but it's a different, the terminology matters here. Owner-initiated
not,
and
yeah,
fire district initiated are two different things. I know they're being shoved into one thing. Do you know what the difference on these 33, how much were
none
the
of,
owner saying, hey, it's time for me to be in the fire district, I'd like to be in?
Yeah.
Versus the fire district reaching out to them and saying, hey, you need to be in, or XYZ.
under this process, none of the property owners initiated this process.
Thank you. Very good. Any other questions? Last thing is under Senate Bill 1068, there is a process in which a fire district can annex without our involvement. This is not that process either, right?
Right.
Maybe somebody else can answer why this process is being used versus the one where the fire district board votes for the annexation versus the commissioners.
So the Senate bill lays out kind of separate processes. The first initial process is the district establishing a coverage area.
Right.
And then they reach out to provide notice and reach out to property owners within that coverage area. and facilitate the annexations that are before the board today, this morning.
They're allowed to incentivize, by saying, we're not gonna charge you, or we do some things.
And
Or they can coerce by saying, if you don't, it's gonna cost you more, so all that can happen, but
a lot of that's baked into the Senate bill itself.
I know, I read the bill lots of times.
Sure. So, yeah, and then after this initial annexation process happens,
Then they can go back and clean up.
then the district board can annex without the involvement of the county.
Right, so if today we don't choose to annex, the fire district board can do it anyway.
Under the Senate bill, there's a handful of triggers, so if a change of ownership or if they go through a land use process, we would notify the board would annex, so.
They couldn't annex these 33 without us making this action today.
Correct.
So my challenge with the Senate bill, and I'll just tell you right off, and there's people listening and there's also people I'm sure, I don't like any time the Oregon legislature passes a law that requires an action of us, expecting us not to have a yes or no decision. This process assumes that we're all gonna vote yes for these annexations, and in this situation, this is not an owner-initiated annexation. And this is a group of people being annexed to a fire district. I'm sure we're gonna hear from one of them today, but I've heard from others that didn't want to do this. And without a vote of the people that are getting annexed, I love fire departments, I'm very supportive of the fire service, but this is bad public policy to force people to vote us, to annex people that don't get to vote whether they wanna be in or not. So anyway, we'll hear from everybody, and maybe I've got it wrong and I'm excited to hear, but thank you for answering those questions. Any more questions?
Make a couple comments,
Yeah.
maybe get to a question. So I think most everybody in this room probably understands what's happening here, but for people that are watching the meeting live or may watch it later, what's happening is the legislature is trying to solve a perceived problem, where there are folks who live out in primarily rural areas within the county who may or may not believe that they have fire coverage from a rural fire district. And the fire district has members that make up their district, but never had per se a formal boundary. And folks who now live within what's been created as a formal district boundary have been identified as not having coverage. And some of those folks may have believed that if they had a fire at their house and they called 911, that somebody was going to come because that's what happens. Some of them likely knew that they weren't in the district or paying the tax, but assumed that they might get coverage anyway. And some of them likely decided that the fire prevention service that's available isn't worth the money that they charge in my area, and they opted out. And that's the concern, is that right now we have folks that are likely in all those categories that are made up of the 33 that have been reached out to by the fire department to say, look, you're not in our district, you're not paying our tax. We would like to invite you to come into our district, because if you don't, we're not gonna service you. Or if we do service you, we may send you a bill, or whatever the other consequences may be. So we're being now asked to add these 33 who you say have signed an agreement to join, which to Commissioner Freeman's point is not the same as the owner initiating the process, which is what we've always seen in the past. We've seen a property owner buy a piece of property or build a home on a vacant piece of property and come to the conclusion on their own that, hey, I need to have fire coverage here and I want to initiate the process to join the fire district and get coverage from this provider. And those come to us, and obviously they're uncontested because the owner initiated. Easy vote for me, right? This not quite so easy, because there are potentially people in there who feel like they've been strong-armed into the district. They may not see the value of it. They may want to be in there. But like Commissioner Freeman said, we're gonna hear from one of them today. My guess is that likely more folks than one have an opinion about this, and I'm sorry they didn't come today. but let's hear what he has to say and we'll go from there.
Along those points, I think that for me, the challenge we have here today is the fact that there very well could be people that fall into that first category that you talked about. There very well could be. There could be people in this group that absolutely want this, just like we've done all along. There may be a group of people in there that want this because they're afraid of the consequences of not doing it. And then there's ones that might be, no, we don't want this at all, but we had no choice. We don't feel like we had a choice. So that's the challenge today. We haven't heard from these people. And it is unfortunate that we're only one's here today or whatever.
The other challenge, of course, is it's a single item. And I know this bill's been in place for a while, and I'm confident that some of the other fire departments have brought some through using this process, one-offs. And those one-offs, if a person had an issue, they could have come and talked about theirs. And if they didn't wanna be in, we could have voted yes or no on them. But since there's 33 together here, even if there's one that doesn't want in, you might have 32 that think this is the greatest thing in the world, but because it's all grouped together, it's one vote. And that becomes very challenging, if even one person is being forced to do something they don't wanna do without their consent. And especially since we're calling this owner initiated, right? I mean, that is we're starting in a place that is not, it's different. We should have a different title for this, collaborative effort or fire district owner initiated, something different than what we've done since the beginning of time, since I've been here for 11 years. Owner initiated always means the owner starts the process. And there's been times when fire districts have incentivized people and, we've worked with them to lower the cost or process them as a batch to where we could lower the cost. We've done all those things and will continue to. This is just something new and I wanted to note that so everybody knows what we're doing. Anything else? All right, well, I'm gonna go ahead. Thank you, Joe. And I know it's your fault, we're just talking about this. So I'm gonna go ahead and open the public hearing. And I'm gonna invite this gentleman up, but before I do that, is there anybody online, Jennifer?
There's nobody online.
Keep an eye on that throughout the public hearing. Sir, watch your step and come on up. Perfect.
This old business is getting old, there's a lot to be desired.
It's better than the alternative.
Listening to your comments, gentlemen, I'm encouraged. I expected to come in here with a very antagonistic attitude, and I'm not going to have to, I see. My name is Lee Purcell, and I live up on Murdoch Road in this proposed annexation. And you must have read the original letter that was sent out to us. It was very aggressive. It implied incredible, unacceptable results if we didn't voluntarily agree to this proposal. We were literally intimidated into signing this letter. Now, I live on a very meager income. I worked till I was over 70 just to pay for my home, so I wouldn't have house payments. And the taxes on it are so high, combined with the insurance, that I'm right on the brink of being taxed out of my home. Now, I bring this up to point out that if I had my choice, would I purposely vote to increase my own property taxes by maybe $1,000 a year? It's absurd. I was intimidated into signing that first letter, and I was willing to drop it right there and suck it up because, hey, what if I got 2 more years maybe? And that's the way I felt about it. I've discussed it with all of my neighbors, all 3 of them, and they feel the same way I do about this first letter, but they didn't want to come in. So I wonder why we weren't given an opportunity to vote on annexation. No, I don't wonder. I know why, because it would have been voted down. But then I received this letter right here, and it calls me the chief petitioner of this annexation. I was shocked. I am not a willing chief petitioner of this annexation. I feel I was literally coerced into it. In fact, I have a whole bunch of notes here and I called it mafia methods. They coerced us into signing a letter with the promise of protection, and then convinced us, or tried to convince us, that it was our idea in the first place. It was not. I don't know anyone out there, and I know most of the 33 you're talking about, that go along with this. They don't like it at all. They don't like the methodology that was used to bring it about. And that's pretty much my point. Oh, one other thing. As you can tell, I put a number of years in this service. And I am wondering if this can be perpetrated upon the people. What happened to our liberty and justice for all? I'm finished. Thank you.
Thank you.
Get your cane. Get your cane.
Your cane's there. Easy, easy. Sit closer too if you'd
Yeah,
like.
you can rub and just have a seat right there.
That's okay.
All right, so we are in public hearing. Anybody else would like to come forward on agenda item number 3? This is the appropriate time. Is anybody online?
Nobody's online.
Anybody here in the room would like to come forward? We are in a public hearing, yes, sir.
Thank you, sir, for bringing up the good points. You all brought up very good points for being, I don't live there. I fortunately live in a fire district in Glide that's, they don't care, they'll just be there. But, like you said, when they coerce you into these, you lose all your freedoms and you have no guarantee. A lot of our properties up in Glide are kind of a ways from the fire department, and I know Calapooya pretty good. I do work out in that area there, and most of those guys, their houses could burn down before that fire truck got started up. And so I agree with the gentleman here, and unfortunately, there's more people here to speak. But y'all brought up some very good points, and I would hope that you would say no if that's what you can do today. Let them go through another process, the one more like you normally do. Because 33 people at one time, that's like herding all the chickens in to be slaughtered. You know, it's dinner time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Again, we're in public hearing. Is there anybody online that,
Nobody
I'm
online.
gonna keep asking that, just I wanna make sure we don't miss anybody. Anybody else here in the room would like to come forward? Seeing none, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Joshua, you might come back up. Well, let us have a discussion first and we'll see if there's questions.
I do have a question.
Okay, come on up, please.
If all of these folks are annexed in one fell swoop today, is there an opt-out mechanism for any of them?
To come back later, and
To say, I don't want in?
once you're in a district, it's very difficult to get out under statute. You'd have to demonstrate that you cannot be served by whatever the service is in the district.
Sure.
Joshua, can we also, on the flip side of that, if we don't do anything today, can this be split apart and done individually?
Sure. And grouping them all together was a choice by the county to streamline things and make it easier on everyone, but we didn't maybe think through how this might
That's fine. So, I think we're done with questions. I got a few comments before we move forward with the board. So, again, this particular piece of legislation was brought in front of the legislature multiple times. And Mr. Purcell, thank you for coming today. I literally told your story to the legislature with have never met you.
Thank you.
I told the story of people working their whole life, buying a piece of property, retiring on a fixed income and having enough money to pay their way and for the rest of their life, and then out of nowhere, without their consent, having an additional service, which is a good service, put on them where they have to pay for it. And I will tell you, there's probably been no time in history when fire service is more important than it is right now. with the wildfires we have and stuff, and the support for fire departments has probably never been greater. So I didn't think this was necessary, number one. I thought if fire districts should be able to sell what they have, because they do a good job, and they are very important, and I think a lot of people would like to have them. And I don't like the public policy, and not just for fire departments, but this is sort of the, the camel under the tent. If you allow every taxing district to annex and grow without the consent of who they're annexing, think about, say if cities started doing that. Say the city of Roseburg decided, well, we're just gonna annex everything around us. Look what that does to the fire district that they take in. Look what a recreation district might do, or any numerous other districts. We have 120-something taxing districts here in Douglas County alone. So it's bad public policy. I did suggest some alternatives. And by the way, the bill was stopped several times, primarily because of the fear that you're describing is people getting taxed out of their home, not because there isn't support for fire districts. But I suggested that fire districts got some of the same tools cities have. And those tools that I suggested were island annexations. So a contiguous area for service delivery makes sense. Driving by one house that's not in the district to get to the next one, it doesn't make a lot of sense. So I suggested. I suggested contiguous. So if you are gonna grow the district, if your line's here in the very next house, that makes sense. But this thing they did where they did the 7-mile sort of arbitrary number, which 7 miles in some area may make sense, may not in others, seemed like a weird thing to me. And it also creates a leapfrog situation where the service may not be at the level it should be at. So anyway, it had gotten to the legislature multiple times and it was defeated. Well, finally it was passed last session. One of the things we were promised as counties is that we would not be forced into this situation, that they were gonna give the fire district boards, the entity, the governing entity of the organization, the ability to annex. So if they wanna make the decision to force you in, they would have that ability. And it sounds like they did that partially, but not to the degree we're talking about here today. So for me, anytime the legislature sort of does this stuff and expects or forces us to to follow a process we don't believe in becomes very problematic. So, I'm challenged by this. However, as we've been doing, and I'm confident, we've done some, there's been more fire district annexations, there's a bunch of fire districts here lately. I'm confident some of those are because of this bill. And each one of those individuals had the ability to come in like you did, or call me like other people have in the area. I grew up in Oakland, I know people that live out in your area. And that's a better process. I feel more comfortable with doing them one at a time, and I apologize if our staff force those all together, but that's problematic. This is problematic for me. So I don't know if you guys have other issues.
I don't have a motion.
Okay, very good. So we've closed the public hearing, we've asked questions, we've debated, and it appears there's no motion to be brought forward. So this one, or these 33 are likely to return in a different format today. We're not gonna deal with them today, so in the future, we'll likely see them in a different format. So we'll move on to agenda item number 4, which is a public works item, and I'll invite up Scott Adams, our public works director.
Good morning, Commissioners. Scott Adams, Public Works. Item number 4 is a final acceptance of a contract between Douglas County and Pave Northwest for the slurry seal in the Green District for last summer, project number 11163. Total contract amount is $185,305.53. It is our recommendation to close this project out.
To approve the final acceptance offer.
I'll second.
A motion and a second, questions or comments? Did a good job. I'll go ahead and call the question. Commissioner Boyce?
Aye.
Commissioner Kress?
Aye.
Chair votes aye and the motion passes. Agenda item number 5 is a public works item also, and we'll hear from Scott again.
Again, Scott Adams, Public Works. Item number 5 is a final acceptance of a contract between Douglas County and ComSurf Pro for a crack seal project, this last summer, 2025, project number 11164. Total contract amount is $79,817.59. It is our recommendation to close this project out as well.
Move to approve the final acceptance order.
And I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second. I will comment that you did a good job reading their names. Somehow I get Smurf when I read that. I don't know why, but you gotta read it real slow. So any other questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll call a question. Commissioner Boyce?
Aye.
Commissioner Kress? Chair votes aye and the motion passes. Thank you. I know, did you wanna deal with an off agenda item that's
Yeah, I've got-
timely?
One quick off-agenda item, guys. I've got a contract and it's for a modification of our current contract with Civic Plus, which is the purveyor of our website. We need to move into a different element with it, have some legislative things that have came down that we're not quite in compliance with. We need to be pretty soon, but there's some details to work out in this contract, and I'd ask if you would let me work out those contract details as far as making sure these are okay. I'd like to move to approve this contract so I have that ability, because it needs to be done by the end of the year, and I'm fearful that we may not get that done.
So
It's a motion.
to approve that contract.
Move to approve this a contract and make sure that I double check all these details and make sure that
Tom will make the final
all
decision.
the things are correct.
I'll second that.
So I think the motion is to approve the contract pending final
Yeah.
information that you're gonna receive as the liaison commissioner.
That's correct.
I will also, so we had a motion and a second, I will also note, we're in compliance now.
That's right.
They passed a law that requires some additional things on our website, and this will allow us to be compliant when that law
That
takes
is
effect.
correct. Yeah, I'm sorry I didn't say that.
Now, I just wanna make sure, we got people listening and they're looking for,
I wanna make sure
Users to
we're
be
in
upset,
compliance,
so-
and I'm not 100% sure that we got all these details right, and I wanna make sure we do, and I need to.
It's a new law, so everybody's trying to sort through what exactly the terminology all means, so thank you. So you understand the motion in a second? Okay, I'll call a question. Commissioner Boyce?
Aye.
Commissioner Kress?
Aye.
Chair votes aye and the motion passes. Agenda item number 6 is commissioner comments, and I wanna call on Commissioner Boyce to talk a little bit about the Wreaths Across America event that we had on Saturday. And I think he has some folks with him here that would also like to visit a little bit about it, so
Yeah.
I'll give the floor to you.
So we had a couple folks call and wanted to come in and make some comments about that, and I just wanna say thank you to everyone involved. The first thing I will mention is, this is really the second year of total involvement of myself in the Wreaths Across America movement, but I would point out that it's not a county thing. It's very much supported by myself and my fellow commissioners and other members of the county. Tamara, who works on the committee, and Kelly, who doesn't officially work for the county anymore, but works on the committee. Dan Loomis is a county employee, our county clerk, who's also on the Wreaths Across America committee, but then there's others on the committee who aren't members of the county government. We got involved in this simply because of our relationship with the local veterans as a county government. And it has become a joy for me, a personal opportunity to serve and thank veterans, but also the community has gotten behind it. And it's getting better every year. We learn a little something about each event that we do. And the best part is it's an easy event to put on, even though it sort of looks enormous, but it's easy because everyone's willing to say yes. So multiple players involved again. The folks that make it the easiest for us are the folks out at Timber Country Coca-Cola. Those guys do an amazing job. They receive the wreaths. They just happen to have all the right stuff to move truckloads of wreaths and store them and distribute them to the site and spread them out where we need them exactly. And then the hands-on volunteers that are at the site physically moving the boxes and opening them up and handing out the wreaths. And the school district and the bus company and the UCC student athletes who are gonna come out in a month and donate their time to help me clean those wreaths up. And And then just all the individual volunteers that make it a point to be there every year and stay until the work's done. At Harvard Avenue this year, we had a little bit of a bottleneck in a new procedure that we were trying to distribute the wreaths, and we had one line where people would come in and then they'd go out on the cemetery and they'd come back around and go through the line. And I stood there and handed out wreaths until they were all gone, or not, the wreaths weren't all gone, but they were coming back to us because there was no place left in the cemetery to put them. And some of the people came through the line 10, 15, maybe 20 times, carrying as many wreaths as they could carry. So it was a huge community effort, a great success. Again, not something that the county government puts on, but certainly a bunch of us who work here appreciate the opportunity to serve that way and recognize it. Most all the feedback has been positive. There's always somebody who's got something negative to say, and that's unfortunate. The things that we've heard back this year are along the lines of, why don't we shop local and buy the wreaths here? And to my knowledge, this has been going on for 20-some years, and there's no local wreath manufacturer who's stepped up and said, hey, I can do that. But then at the same time, people may or may not recognize this or know it, but this is a national event. On the same day, at all of the national cemeteries across the country, this happens. All the wreaths are uniform in size and shape and color. They have the same ribbons. All the cemeteries, when they're done, look the same. And it's really, it's a great value. The company that organized this and became Wreaths Across America started with a single wreath maker in Maine. I'm sure this has grown into something well beyond anything he ever imagined when he did it the first time. And they create an opportunity every year for us to essentially buy one wreath and get one free. So I go out and do the majority of the fundraising for next year's event right now. Between now and the end of December is that 2-for-1 window. So if you want to contribute to next year's event, now's the time. But when that happens, what we get is for $17.50, I think it is, or $17 even, we get 2 wreaths delivered to our community. And a $5 kickback to the local organization that sponsored the event, which in this case has been the Roseburg Sea Cadets or John Pearson's Military Honors by the Pipes. So John's Military Honors by the Pipes organization has gone defunct since his passing, and we just created a new sponsor organization called the John Pearson Memorial Fund. So those are your 2 choices for sponsoring wreaths locally. Whichever organization you choose as your local sponsor will receive that $5 kickback. And the $5 kickback that we get from those wreaths helps to pay for all the things that we need to pay for, like the sponsor books and the whatever incidental costs happen in order to put that event on every year. And then those monies also go to other worthwhile causes like military honors by the pipes, the guys that still do that work in remembrance of John and so on. So thanks for everyone in the community for being involved. Another great event. And I think there's some folks here that want to come talk about it.
Before you call them up, I thank you. I hope those out there that are being negative about this, once they hear it's not a county event, they'll get off the negative stuff. I believe there's politics involved, that anytime we're involved in anything, there's a certain group of people, no matter what, hate it. And your involvement and Dan's as part of the committee, Tamara, you do that on your own personal time, and it is very much appreciated. I first became acquainted with this event the very first year it was done here at the VA cemetery. Of course, the new cemetery wasn't there yet. Linda and Terry Mooney, who were running the Patriot Garden, I was riding with that group to help at military funerals, put it on. And they had a wreath for each branch of the government. I'm not of the government, of the military. They had one for each branch of the military. That's all the wreaths they had. So it went from having that to what you've been able to accomplish the last couple of years, and it's absolutely remarkable. In the fact that people are finding fault, I really, really hope it's only politics, that they don't find fault with honoring people that have served our country. And this is a beautiful way to honor them, and I'm sad that people are being negative about this. And, you know, for you and your committee, you know, from the rest of us board members, thank you. Thank you for that work. I'm always honored to get to be, you know, one of the speakers there and give the keynote address. It is remarkable to see that many people in our community come out. Weather was much nicer this year. Last year, the weather was bad. There was just as many or more people. So we've got an amazing community, and I am, again, very honored to be a part of it. And hopefully this notification of the fact that it, and I know the newspaper is hearing us say that like 4 or 5 times, it's not a county event. And maybe they'll help us correct that misunderstanding. So please invite up anybody that you'd like.
I had 2 folks contact me this week that wanted to be sure and have an opportunity to say some things about that, and the first one's Neil Hummel.
My name is Neil Hummel, and I live on Cross Creek, and I'm also a Vietnam veteran, very active in the Vietnam Veterans Group here in Roseburg. Was in the Marine Corps from 64 to 67. Actually, I volunteered to join the Marine Corps right down here. That's where the recruiter's office was. And it was,
How old were you?
I was 17 at the time. And it was my economic ticket out of Roseburg. I didn't have much of an opportunity to advance. In fact, the registrar at the University of Oregon told me at the time we interviewed him one-on-one in his class. We'd go up and interview the registrars, and he said, Mr. Hummel, what I'd recommend is either go in the service, work in the woods, or go to work in a grocery store. That's sort of your limit. And then go to Umpqua Community College, which just opened up in 64. In the evening, we used to call it UCLA, University, late afternoon, Umpqua Community College. So, because we all the kids at that time, we went to, or what they did, they went to college here in churches and gymnasiums when they weren't in use. So that's kind of the history of me. I grew up in Roseburg. But I wanted to, again, compliment you guys. It almost brings tears to my eyes. But, and I think it was because John Pearson meant so much to me. John was a stellar person. He'd come to me and we'd discuss a few things about the direction of the Vietnam veterans, the direction of the VA, and he was just a great sounding board. And he was a guy of common sense, and that's the kind of people, a true grit. I think he was a manager of a ranch at one time in Montana. So, and then he started the Bagpipers here in our area, and he just had a lot of get up and go and love for veterans and lots of respect for veterans. And, you know, to get 3 of our esteemed county commissioners involved is beyond. I don't know of any other community that does this. And you were right, Tim, it started with the Moonies, and it started with 5 wreaths for each branch of the service. And like you, I was there the first time. We were out on Harvard, and they took those wreaths at that time and put them on the graves. And looked they went to a Marine, somebody in the Army, somebody in the Coast Guard, somebody in the Air Force, and then somebody in the Navy. And they went ahead and put the wreaths in front of their gravesite. So it's just beyond my conception, from starting from 5 wreaths and then to go all the way up to 7,000 wreaths. I mean, wow, there's nothing like it. And so again, I want to publicly get up and say, as a veteran that grew up in Roseburg, Oregon, how much I appreciate it. It's sort of, one day that's gonna be my final resting spot. And so I just think this is over the top.
Thank you for coming today. I will tell you, as John started talking about wanting to have a wreath on every grave, I reminded him that you had talked about that quite a few years before that, and I sent him your way. So I thought the 2 of you could connect on that, and I know you've talked about that for a long time, so appreciate your involvement.
On a side note, a little bit more selfish, I just attended the 250th anniversary of the founding of the Marine Corps. So we went down to Las Vegas. Why not party in the party city of the world?
Sounds like a Marine
So
thing.
it sounds like it. So we went and there was about 700 Marines plus their spouses, and they had it at, in this big casino area. And you can imagine 7,000 Marines from the ages of 18 to 98. And as you know, the Marines have a tradition that the youngest and the oldest Marine cuts the cake first. Then the youngest Marine comes up and cuts the cake. And they had that ceremony. They had sabers, so it was just over the top. And you rub shoulders with generals, you rub shoulders with colonels. And, I'm just a little E5 enlisted guy. So I felt kind of important with all these bigwigs. But we had, young Marines that are willing to go to battle. Right there, ready, set, ready to go. And that was so inspiring. And I told my wife, I said, honey, you're gonna hear things and see things that you've never heard in your life before. And it's gonna happen, so. I just think that that all going on was just a good thing to do.
Keep talking, I know where he's going.
Oh. So it's not hard for me to talk, I have a captive audience. But it was just so exhilarating. It was a 3-day event and it started out with 2,000 Marines show up at what they call Devil Dog's Bar. Devil Dog's Bar down in Las Vegas is a real nondescript tavern. But can you imagine? I had to go across the street to get a 6-pack of beer to come over because the line was so long. So it was just so refreshing to me to see that kind of enthusiasm toward our country and as patriots.
Thank you for your service.
So on behalf of that, I wanted to present you with a challenge coin.
Thank you, Neil.
Celebrating the 250th birthday of the Marine Corps. Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
And I did a little research on challenge coins to find out what they really stand for. And it's as a receiver, and I'm the giver, you're the receiver. Well, the giver says to you as a receiver, been there, done that. And I'm honored to give you part of what I
And the
did.
tradition goes, if you don't have a challenge coin to give back, you have to buy the drinks. Did you
And I've
notice you
done
got,
that a number of times.
did you notice you got one back?
But again, keep up the good work. I walked around that day throughout the VA cemetery, and so many people were just overwhelmed. And thank everybody. Kudos to everybody involved, and it was very heartwarming.
So, Neil, you've been a supporter, obviously, for longer than I've been involved. But since I've been involved, you've been a financial supporter, and a huge cheerleader, and I appreciate that. For anyone who hasn't been out there to see the cemetery, please go.
It's beautiful.
It's cool. When you drive by, even just driving by on Harvard and look over, it's cool. So, Neil, but because of your support for us and this,
Oh, my Lord.
I want you to have that.
Thank you.
Would you hold it up and show everybody?
Beautiful.
This is a picture of our VA cemetery with the wreaths adorned, and the uniformity of that picture could have been taken at any VA cemetery across the nation. This one's ours.
By the way, it's grown now nationally to 1.3 million wreaths. Jeez. It keeps growing, keeps getting bigger. Thanks to you guys.
Thanks, Neil.
Tim, can I interrupt just a moment, please?
Yes, sir.
I have an invalid wife at home I have to take care of, so I have to get out of here.
Okay.
But I'd like you to have this said before I go. This is my initial thoughts on the issue,
Okay,
and you don't need to show them to anyone.
that's right. I'll take a look. Thank you, sir.
Incidentally, my wife and I will be buried in that cemetery, her probably within the month, me not too long after. Y'all have a good day.
All right, take care. Maybe have Dave come up.
My honor. Incidentally, I was out before you were in. I've got 12
But
years.
thanks for
12
serving.
years in, how about you?
I just, for 3. I went in and combat.
I missed that. I was on the old World War II submarines.
There you go.
Dave, you wanna come up?
Thank you for having me.
Two a day for you. Thanks for coming today.
Wasn't expecting the first one though,
That's- I
but they need
appreciate
a little
you being
support. My name is Dave Davis, I live in Glide, I'm just a hillbilly up there, but I am a vet. I spent 4 years in the Air Force. I didn't ever suspect that anybody here in this room were doing this as part of the county government. Y'all have a personal life, maybe an hour or two during the day, but I know you do this, you make sacrifices. Not just you in the room, but all, like Kelly and all the other people that are just behind the scenes, the secret little elves. And you make great sacrifices, because this is not easy work. I myself was not really aware of this program, the Reach Across America, until I met John. It was a very humbling day for me. I'm out at Chris Boy's house for Taco Tuesday. It was hot outside in summer, we're drinking beers and stuff and having tacos. And John came in. Chris had told me he had a friend coming that had disability walking and needed park my car up away, so no problem. Well, he walked in the room like he didn't really have any problem walking, but the drive up there, if you ever been to his house, it's a little rocky. To listen to him speak was emotional, rewarding. I'm gonna try to do this without my eyes leaking here and my voice, but it was never about him when he spoke, about the things that he did. It was about the other people. Like I said, he never spoke about himself. Bloviating, bragging, or whatever, it's just all the great people, the great things that all these other people had done. The disappointment that he had with people not understanding what veterans do, the sacrifices that they make. Some of them never come back. Some of them come back broken, physically and emotionally. It hurt him. I didn't get to be in his presence very long. He passed away. But I was proud to go in '24 to the first Reach Across America. It rained a little bit, but when it came time to put out the wreaths, God opened the sky, there was not a cloud anywhere. Through the entire time I spent putting in wreaths, and I walked and I kind of disabled myself, not from the military, I'm a butthead, I hurt myself, but. So I walked from the ceremony all the way over across the bridge to Harvard. And I go there oftentimes, not just during this, because there's people there. There was a time when our cemetery wasn't very well maintained. And the soldiers at the back by the river, their headstones had fallen over, they were chipped, disrepaired, moss and this and that growing on them. And those are our oldest soldiers. There's ones in there from the Spanish-American War. Some of them don't have the dates other than the day they died. And it brings me peace to go in there, salute them and say a few words, pray with them. When I went in there in '24, that had all been rectified. All stones are standing proud, clean. They're still at the back. My goal when I go there is to put a wreath on my father-in-law's side. He's in the mausoleum thing, whatever it's called. And to go to that back part of the cemetery, because I don't think that they have family here any longer. When you died in 1780 or something like that, I'm pretty sure there's nobody here. I want to make sure that they have words of appreciation. I told you it would only be a minute, but I think I've probably gone over my time.
Okay.
Your speech, Mr. Freeman, was beautiful. The work that all the rest of you have done, it's heartwarming. The one thing that, of the 3 words, is teach. I saw younger people this year than last year. So I think the teaching is working a bit. seems a little slow sometimes, you know, we want, cause I'm old, I don't have a lot of time left here, you know, and I don't know how many days I can teach, I'm kind of a butthead, you know, sometimes people don't wanna be around me to listen to what I have to teach, but each and every one of you as an individual human being, you know, John didn't do this for himself, he did it for awareness to all of those that were God and country, God first country, my opinion. That's why I went in the service, it was about God and my country, but there was no financial rewards, I made a lot more money when I was a civilian than I did being in the military. But it was great when I was on the bus coming back to this high school to get in my car, I ran into some individuals there, like 6 people there that were from California. I'd come up here, thought this was heaven. So I just hope that you left your tissue paper in the bathroom when you come here. And he goes, I know exactly what you mean, and we did. We can't understand why you would want to change this little island of heaven. They're all vets, and they had never heard of us having this ceremony before either. I don't know when they got here, it must have been like last week or something, because we had it last year too, but they were very thankful for everything that was done and all of the volunteers that made it possible. And like you said, when you drive by there on Harvard alone, because it's the easiest place to drive by, and see how beautiful that looks at just the right time for Christmas. Yeah. Thank you for letting me, I gotta go wipe my eyes.
Thank you for your service and thank you for coming today. Commissioner Kress, are you done? Thank you too.
I don't think there was anyone else. If there is anyone else that want to say anything.
You know, if we're gonna, probably not have a meeting next week, so in that regard, I wanna wish everybody a Merry Christmas and we'll maybe even see you next year.
And I would also like to end with a Merry Christmas. Hope people get to spend some time with their family and remember what, you know, really what Christmas is all about. I know we get caught up in the busy rush, but really, it's the celebration of the birth of Jesus Christ, and we should take the time to remember that, and we should honor that by taking time with your family and your friends and appreciate what you have. And we've got a lot of really great things here in Douglas County. So with that, Merry Christmas, meeting adjourned.